Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. New boss, no different than the old boss. That's the sad state of affairs at Disney. Now, I recently read a news report that Bob Iger will be stepping down as the CEO of Disney sooner rather than later. Now, Bob Iger was originally planned to step down as the CEO of Disney at the end of 2026 when his contract was up. However, it's looking like the board is looking to try to go out here and replace Bob Iger sooner rather than later. And from the looks of things, Disney is looking to install a new CEO in place in March of 2026, and the man that they're looking to put in place as Disney's new CEO is Josh D'Amaro. Now, Josh D'Amaro is the guy who was basically working at Disney for over 20 years and eventually wound up becoming in charge of their theme parks. And from the results of what happened with Disney's theme parks, it's looking to me like this is going to be a situation of no hope of anything changing at Disney as related to things, and this will show how the sad state of affairs will get progressively worse. No, what's going to happen here at Disney is that Disney is going to continue on a state of decline because of the culture of the leadership at Disney that has basically been cultivated by decades of nepotism, favoritism, and cronyism, the same things that undermined Disney as it went into its decline in the 1960s and 1970s. Now, the man who turned Disney around in the 1980s, Michael Eisner, basically came in with a brand new vision, and under that brand new vision, he basically focused on trying to create new concepts for children and looked to go out here and expand markets by expanding subsidiary studios like Touchstone Pictures and Hollywood Films. And sadly, the problem at Disney is that they don't have a visionary like a Michael Eisner to turn their business around. No, in this world of an oligarchy as related to media that was created due to the Telecom Act of 1996, what has happened is we have a entertainment industry that basically it frowns on new ideas and new innovations. And that's the big problem with Disney. Again, there's a whole corporate culture and a whole culture as related to the way of life in the entertainment industry where folks basically, again, it's all about who you know and not what you know. And sadly, under that culture, we have watched as multiple individuals have been able to move up while they fail upwards. And Josh D'Amaro is a textbook example of an individual who has basically failed upwards into a CEO position where he was just basically hooked up because the people at the board just liked him and did not look at his results. Because when you look at the results as related to Disney theme parks, Disney theme park pricing basically has priced out the average everyday American, and that runs counter to what Walt Disney originally planned as related to Disneyland, and that was all under Josh D'Amaro. He basically turned Disney theme parks into a place not for children or working class people, but into a fiefdom and a playground for only the wealthy, because you need about $1,000 a day in order to go to Disneyland these days, and that runs counter to what Walt Disney originally planned for Disneyland. Because with Disneyland, under Walt Disney, it was supposed to be a magic kingdom where everyone could go out here and experience the Disney park and enjoy the park. And this is the man that they want to go out here and make the CEO of Disney, a man who basically has no real successful results whatsoever, a man who has gone out here and really has not brought any success to Disney's theme parks, and they want him to run the Disney studio along with Dana Walden, a woman who basically, again, only wants to focus on the politics of the Blue Party, and that's not going to set a good direction for Disney at all as related to its overall film and television business. Because the guy who couldn't run the theme parks definitely won't be able to go out here and run the Disney studios, which need a new direction and a new vision after years of Bob Iger's incompetence. Now, Bob Iger basically rose through the ranks of Disney, not being able to create fresh new concepts like Michael Eisner was able to do. I mean, Michael Eisner basically was the guy behind going out here and again, not only going out here and pushing movies at many of Disney's smaller divisions like Touchstone Pictures and Hollywood Studios. Again, these were the films that basically were the mid-budget films that allowed Disney to be able to develop a cash base. And as they went out here and were able to develop a cash base, they were able to start reviving their animated films with a renaissance. And that renaissance basically revived Disney, starting in 1989 with The Little Mermaid. And Michael Eisner also made an investment in computer animation by going out here and bringing in Pixar. Bob Iger didn't have that type of vision. No, he thought because Disney was a billion-dollar studio, he could go out here and buy whatever intellectual properties he could find and basically go out here and sell those intellectual properties with a Disney label on them. Unfortunately, that's not a thing that basically led to Disney having any growth in the 20-teens like they had from the 1980s to 2005 under Bob Iger. No, Disney under Bob Iger was not going out here and producing concepts in-house as related to intellectual properties. Now, under Michael Eisner, Disney was producing intellectual properties that brought in lots of revenue, whether it be The Little Mermaid, whether it be Aladdin, whether it be The Lion King, whether it be many of the Hollywood Studios or Touchstone Pictures films, or many of the sitcoms that basically became a part of late 90s and early 2000s Disney, like The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody and Hannah Montana. Basically, Michael Eisner brought in a lot of revenue because he knew how to make properties in-house for girls and boys. And a lot of the big problem with Bob Iger is he didn't know how to create properties in-house and be able to bring wealth to Disney. And that's where the big problem lies with Disney right now. They really don't have anybody in-house that can go out here and create intellectual properties like they did during the Eisner era. I mean, under Michael Eisner, basically Disney was turbocharged in looking to make new IPs, and that started in 1989 with the Disney Afternoon and basically stuff like Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers, stuff like the Aladdin TV series, stuff like Disney's Gargoyles. I mean, basically Disney was out here taking lots of risks, and as they were making risks on television, they were taking risks with their movies, and they were also taking risks, and that's not something that Bob Iger did. No, Bob Iger thought he could buy his way out of a whole issue as related to creating properties in-house. He didn't want to pay for intellectual properties with new creators that Disney would own. No, he thought he could buy a ready-made property in Marvel and Star Wars by buying Lucasfilm and Marvel. And sadly, Disney's infrastructure of incompetence basically ran both of those institutions straight into the ground. And sadly, that infrastructure of incompetence basically is going to continue under Josh D'Amaro's leadership, showing me how the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. And that sadly is the culture of Disney. You've got a lot of executives in this oligarchy who still are thinking that they can do the exact same thing and expect a different result. And when the only way to get this studio to actually turn around is to go out here and start looking to build and create new intellectual properties in-house, and look to go out here and try to, again, look to find new intellectual properties from independent creators like myself. You want to go out here and try to find someone who can go out here and create new intellectual properties that will appeal to a new generation, because that was Bob Iger's Achilles heel. He was trying to go out here to buy Marvel and Lucasfilm, looking to market many of these old 40 and 50-year-old intellectual properties to a new generation of kids of Gen Z and Generation Alpha, and many of those kids live in a completely different world than many of the properties that were made at Marvel and Lucasfilm during the era of baby boomers and Generation X. And sadly, when it comes down to Disney, they basically only know how to entertain people in the 20th century and don't know how to entertain people in the 21st. And the new boss, being no different than the old boss, sadly shows me that there's no hope of anything changing at Disney. I mean, Disney basically suffered one of the worst decades in the last 10 years, and as related to its overall creativity. I mean, we went from the days of the 90s where basically Disney was going out here producing hit after hit during the Disney Renaissance, creating hit TV shows and like Gargoyles and Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers and many other Disney cartoons, and Hannah Montana, to an era where basically nothing is being made these days, and basically Disney is taking on water due to bad investments like the Disney Plus streaming service, where I still shake my head that they never made any teen sitcoms whatsoever to appeal to kids, and they never made any sort of children's programming to go on your streaming service. I mean, here we are in the middle of an era where kids basically get their shows on their cell phones, and you don't have any sort of teen sitcom whatsoever. You don't have any sort of kids programming targeted towards children. No, you're still trying to appeal to old 50-something Gen Xers like myself and 40-something millennials with shows like X-Men 97, which again has me scratching my head. Because my main focus, if I'm running Disney, is I'm going for those kids. I'm going for the young people who are in their tweens and teens, making fresh, brand new characters, making fresh, brand new stories, making fresh, brand new properties. And sadly, Disney's, again, boomers basically are still stuck in the 20th century and don't have the vision to take Disney into the 21st century. That's the sad part about this whole situation. Basically, when it comes down to Disney, again, new boss, no different than the old boss, and sadly, that's going to lead to a situation where Disney's decline will still continue, and it's going to be worse than the decline of Disney in the 1970s, because at least in the 1970s, after realizing that, again, films like I believe the Black Cauldron flopped at the box office, Disney finally realized they needed to go out here and change direction, that the road that they were going on really wasn't working, and the approaches that they were going on as related to creating these darker Don Bluth type films wasn't appealing to the kids today. That's where they decided to shift focus, and under Michael Eisner started to change the direction of Disney, and that's how we got that golden age that sadly ended in 2005. But under Bob Iger and now under Josh D'Amaro, I basically see Disney going in a worse direction than they did in the 1970s. I basically see them on the same road that Hollywood was on in the late 1960s and early 1970s, But sadly, many of those folks are so entrenched through the nepotism, favoritism, and cronyism that there's no way to turn and change course, because basically Hollywood has become so insular and walled off from the rest of the world that they don't understand that the only way to make new IPs is to reach out to other new people and bring them into the business. And sadly, when it comes down to Hollywood, again, they only want to, again, deal with only people who think like them, as related to what some of the YouTube grifters call the woke mind virus, but what I call basically, again, extremist leftist thinking, and that runs counter to the cultural pulse of America and the rest of the world. And instead of making products that appeal to a larger audience, they make products that just appeal to themselves. And as they make their vanity projects, basically, this is why Disney has box office bomb after box office bomb and television ratings disaster after television ratings disaster. They basically are in their own world, no different than the creators in the comic book industry, who basically walled themselves off from the rest of the world. And as a result of walling themselves off from the rest of the world, they basically can't reach all those millions of people who they want to see as their future customers. Now, if you want to check out many of my action-packed fantasy stories on the SJS Direct imprint that are designed to appeal to tweens and teens, like the ISIS series, the Esteem series, the John Haynes series, and the Spinsterella series, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available on Lulu.com in paperback, and it's also available on Kindle as well and Google Play. And you can also check out my other comic, Esteem No Good Deed. That comic is available on Kindle for just 99 cents. And you can also pick up a copy in paperback in the Esteem series book, Esteem Blast from the Past. And if you want to see me make more videos taking Hollywood and Hollywood executives to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteem Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.